Welcome back. This is the third webcast in the Business Continuity and Disaster Recovery series. In the first, I explained the importance of business continuity management systems for an organization. In my second webcast, I explained the scope of a comprehensive BCMS and the various entities involved in it. In this webcast, I will talk of the various phases an organization undergoes and the corresponding plans associated with each phase. From the point in time a disaster happens to the point in time the organization returns back to normalcy. Typically, an organization in a disaster goes through 4 phases. I call them the 4 R's. The 4 R's are my pen. Response, recovery, resumption, and restoration. These 4 phases are sequential and they flow from top to bottom. I'll make use of the diagram that I had introduced in the first webcast of efficiency versus time. Efficiency, aggregate efficiency of the various business processes with respect to time. We had the efficiency, a disaster happens, the efficiency drops. In this case, it drops to a predefined level because the organization has a business continuity plan in place. Organization takes time to recover and organization resumes its business process and slowly but surely gets back to normalcy. Where do all these phases time? So if I were to number them as a response would be at the point in time when the disaster happens, the response phase commences R1. Recovery is from when the organization starts recovering. So this is R2. Business resumption is this R3, and restoration would be over here R4. With each of these phases are associated plans. Each plan has got activities and deliverables. Let's start off with the response phase. There are 2 plans in the response phase. The first one is the emergency response procedures, also called as the incident management plan, and the other is the crisis management plan. The emergency management plan, emergency response plan, or emergency management plan, or incident management plan, the name would vary depending on the organization, is a set of activities which are to be undertaken by the individuals, by the employees in case of an incident. This would cover all the kinds of incidents, for example, fire and hence evacuation, a tornado and hence shelter in place, host town operations, a bomb threat coming in, and so on and so forth. The objective of emergency response procedures is safeguard human lives and protect organizational assets. If incident is nipped in bud good. But if it isn't, then there's a need to escalate to the appropriate level so that the various authorities can perform their roles. So in case an incident is not nipped in the bud, we have the crisis management plan. The goal of the crisis management plan is to manage the crisis. It was an incident, now it is a crisis. One of the first steps in crisis management plan is to carry out an initial damage assessment to identify as to what is the impact on the business due to the disaster. If the impact due to the incident on the organization is such that the maximum tolerable downtime of the critical business processes would be exceeded, it warrants a declaration of disaster. One important thing to note is this crisis management plan is different from a crisis management plan that would be invoked in case of management of a brand. For example, recall of batteries of laptops and cell phones due to overheating and explosions, recall of toys due to lead paint issues, recall of dog food gone bad. These two are crises, and they too would have a crisis management plan. However, in a scope of a business continuity, as we said, the key trigger is site outage. And all those incidents that I just mentioned are not something that involves a site outage. It's more got to do with brand management. Hence, the crisis in that context is different from the crisis management plan that we talk of over here. Once an organization identifies that the impact is large and it will affect the critical business processes, it declares a disaster. And that is the time when the recovery phase commences, and we have the disaster recovery plan. In the first webcast, I explained that disaster recovery is something to do with the IT, and business continuity is with the business. The disaster recovery plan would envisage recovering of the IT infrastructure, the affected IT infrastructure, at an alternate location. It could be a warm site, a cool site, a hot site, and any of these, as applicable to the organization, could be a contracted solution or it could be a captive solution. Once the IT organization has recovered itself, commences the resumption phase. And we have the business resumption plan in place. The disaster recovery plan talks of recovery of IT. IT is recovered, good, but where is the business? The business resumption plan is where the business recovers once the IT has recovered.